Check 1, 2. Yep.
Oh, we got it. Yeah, we've got it.
Working?
He's got it down.
Is this working?
You're a little bit low, though.
Okay. Just want to provide a couple quick comments regarding the roadway project to be awarded. And if I could, I'd also a quick update on the pavement rejuvenation program. So regarding the road project, you have the bid in front of you for all this for award. I do want to point out that due to an unfortunate typo in the contract, one of the quantities is larger than it should be. So reality, this contract should be about $60,000 less than the amount. We will address that in a change order. We will also, it's quantity and curb and gutter work. We've also been asked to include some ADA work within the Fox Mill subdivision, which we will add in by change order as well into this contract. So that's.
And that's, your view is it'll be under 10 grand because there's not a lot of or concrete work, flat work on this bid, because some of these streets don't have curb. But we'll do it there because if we try to do 3 bids to add one ADA sidewalk on either side of the street by Bell Graham, I don't think we can get 3 bidders for doing 3 squares of sidewalk on each side. That's a pretty low amount of work for any flat work concrete guys. So I think it's best to do it with a change order, and I just need your kind of consent that he should go forward to get a price. He says it'd be under 10, I think it'd be under 8, and we'll see who's right when it comes as a change order. But there is a child in Norton Lake subdivision that comes down a path that he's got access, but he can't get across the street to the Bell Graham School. So if we added one spot that Scott, it so happens he agrees separately with where Mr. Ray and I looked at it as well. We all chose the same spot independently. So I think it's a good location and a good route for that child to get to the school, and we'll avoid them naming us in a lawsuit for noncompliance with the ADA. They're planning on doing that, and rather than getting sued to do it, let's just spend the 6 to 8 and get it done.
Yeah,
If it's okay with the board.
The location picked is the least amount of work of any other options necessary to get a crossing route from this homeowner to the school.
Did the
So-
parents see how it's going to be changed or where it's at? Did they come out
They-
and look at it?
No, I don't
No?
need their approval. I picked a spot that's the flattest, so we don't have to do as many squares of concrete, so it doesn't have a slope on either side of the street. So it's the flattest, safest, and happens to be probably the most cost-effective.
Well, I only.
And it's shortens
Yeah.
his route.
Oh, that's a good thing.
We don't want to get in the position of homeowners picking engineering issues.
That's not the point. The point is we fixed it once and it wasn't right for them.
Yeah.
And that's why we're redoing it, and that's why I'm asking.
Oh, we didn't do it. The homeowners association of Fox Mill did it, but they actually, when I went and looked at it closer with Scott, they're not actually ADA compliant because the slope is too steep. So that's not even ADA compliant.
Janet, go ahead.
Just to clarify, the issue isn't curb cuts or, something as obvious as that. This actually has to do with the slope that the wheelchair would have to navigate, right? And so the intention, was always to provide this access, but unfortunately it wasn't done correctly. Is that right?
Fox Mill is an older development, and they've done some work to be ADA compliant. The corner that they did it at, they put the panels in correctly, but the squares behind the panels, before you get to the street where the panel is, it's too steep of a slope coming down. So we chose a spot half a block further, closer to the route that would be shortened for the kid, that it's on a flat part of the street, that there's just a tie-in to the sidewalk on either side in the parkway. But it's flatter, there's no slope of the terrain going down too steeply for the wheelchairs, or somebody that is just somewhat handicapped using it, that's not in a motorized chair.
And it's a crossing location. It has a sidewalk ramp on one side of the road,
Yeah.
but not on the other side. So we have to put the one in on the other side, and the one that's in now is not compliant with current standards, so we have to take it out and replace it.
Yeah.
It's one location, work on both sides of the street.
And it's a shorter route, you said.
It's the shortest route. I have talked with the
That's good.
contractor and mentioned it to him, and he said, get him a sketch of it, and he'll give us a cost proposal for it. Other updates on the project is we may be holding a pre-construction meeting towards the end of this week. If everything works out, he may start work on the project next week. So,
Good.
Yeah, and that's our goal, to get this tonight at this special meeting, so we preserve as much time in the good weather of the fall before we get bad weather. So I
Okay.
guess that's, if there's no other questions,
Well,
we'd
let's,
do a
yeah.
roll call.
Well, any other questions or discussion from either side? No? Okay, we'll do roll call.
Trustee Millet?
Aye.
Trustee Burson?
Aye.
Trustee Benetti?
Aye.
Trustee Boatner?
Aye.
Trustee Hassenberger?
Aye.
Trustee Muir?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you very much. If I could just take a moment just to
Sure.
provide a quick update on the pavement rejuvenation work. As you may have noticed, they've been working on KDOT projects in the area. They are moving to village roadway projects tomorrow. They'll be starting on Volcom Road first. It's probably between 3 and 5 days' work total. They'll finish that area. They'll finish other roadways on the north side, and then they'll move down into Norton Lakes and the far west area. So by this time next week, it should be done and gone and swept up.
Good, thank you.
So, okay, thank you.
All right. Okay, moving on to 6, Comprehensive Plan Update Workshop. James, you want to get this started?
I can, and I think a good starting point would be something trustee Burson sent me, but I would like to preface this looking at her.
Oh, turn your mic on, I don't know, yeah.
So I would like to actually start with reading a portion of the minutes of the second April meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission. This is as we were approaching kind of the end. The document was almost assembled. We were looking at a date for the public hearing, and we were having probably our biggest discussions on land use. And I went back to the minutes today, and I found this, which we'll read. It's not that long. It said, quote, "The commission did not want to designate any type of commercial or mixed-use node along Route 47. Several commissioners expressed the desire that Route 47 would not become like Randall Road, i.e. with heavy commercial development. Mr. Anderson, Commissioner Neil Anderson that is, said, I've been fighting this development and loss of farmland my whole life. It is the same discussion year after year," end of quote. Mr. Kopak, Commissioner Kopak, thought development of the area was inevitable and that it should be marked as conservation neighborhood on the future land use map. And then he said that the Captain Township Open Space Program was proof that it could work, that is, that farmland could be preserved. After some discussion, the commission decided that the areas northwest of the village toward Route 47 should remain as agriculture on the future land use map. Mr. Frederick, it's the chairman, Rolf, suggested we add a strategy or statement regarding the strategic use of annexations to preserve open space and agriculture. Mr. Rooney noted that the most vulnerable area was the northwest. Mr. Frederick and Mr. Rooney suggested that the strategy also include a statement that for protection of encroachment and pressure from development that is incompatible with the village. And that, so I just wanted to put that as background. So they did look at this. I know, part of your comment was there's no vision. The vision is no vision or agriculture. It's like if you decide to not take action, I guess that's your action. So it's kind of like this. So they did look at it. There was discussion on this, and they specifically did not want the commercial or mixed-use development or nodes. So I'm just giving you that as background for what was discussed at the Planning and Zoning Commission. And everything they did, time and time again, they said during this, we understand that we aren't the final authority on it, and that the village board wants to change our draft, then that's fine. This is one of the areas where I think that comment was made. The town center plan, there was a lot of discussion on that. They said that too, let's include it in. If the village board wants to ultimately take it out, then that's fine as well. So that's the background to this. It was discussed. I will say, our comprehensive plan did not really, the 2012 one, did not really divide the village up into quadrants or sub-areas. When you have larger communities, sometimes they'll do that, and they'll take more of an in-depth look at sub-areas. We didn't do that in 2012. We didn't revisit that this time. I don't know if that really would have been worth it. There is a strategy in here that says if the village at some point in the future wants to take a closer look at a sub-area, then go ahead and do that and have a separate plan on that. And I think that's why we kind of had the very broad brush on a lot of this. So I understand the focus of this workshop is on what we might call one of those sub-areas, that area right northwest, Route 47. And that's it. So I don't know how you,
Well, and I
that's
think-
my introduction.
And the other introduction that I think Neil and Jerry said is we have a strong preservation of open space in Campton Township. Plato doesn't have a developed sense of preservation in Plato Township. And that's why they were reluctant too, to take anything but preserving farmland as a position, because they thought they'd be putting a bullseye for development on 47 if they tried to do anything about that with the chances of warehouses or any of those kind of mixed-use developments on 47. They said, it's 20 years before the state's gonna widen the road, so we got time. So they deferred.
And so Trustee Burson's letter, she acknowledged that that was excellent work. Thank you very much for the compliment on behalf of the commission. And, but then she said our visioning is incomplete, and she went on and had about half dozen bullet points. And I think they're all worth, at this point revisiting and discussing here, but I just wanted to provide that background. And if you want to dig deeper and have more work done on this area, or alter something, or pull this area out as a sub-area, as some comprehensive plans do, then that's fine, so.
Yeah, I think the key is, do you think it's gonna stay farmland for the next 20 years and wait for 47 to be widened? Or do you think you should take some proactive steps to define what you find palatable and acceptable up there and kind of list it?
Yeah, another question for you, James, is, so we're saying, and I love the farmland idea, obviously, we're very pro-open space and farm country, but some of these farmers look at their farm for the future. When they retire, they want to sell it. They want to sell
Oh,
it
yeah.
to whoever's going to pay them the
Right.
most money for it. They can retire and have a happy lifestyle. So is it reasonable for us to assume that it's going to, I know it'll be in our comp plan, but that it'll stay farmland? Is there a way to word it where, we understand that the farmers may have a different vision from us?
Well, here's the issue. For areas that we control, ultimately, if it's within our jurisdiction, we should have the final say for zoning.
Well,
For the areas that we don't control, the issue arises, and, having worked as a consultant, I was talking to you or Mark just a half hour ago,
yeah,
up Algonquin area, where you have a arterial road, and you have, at that time, it was 20-some years ago, communities competing against one another
correct.
to get the commercial development, because that meant sales tax. So a development's going to happen, and they're racing to give development deals to the developer to ensure that they at least get the sales tax out of it. Because if they don't get the sales tax, they're going to endure all the negative impacts of the development, the traffic, the noise, the disruption, fire calls, police calls, whatever the development's going to be, and there's not going to be any benefit for it. I'm not sure that's the same
Yeah.
situation here, at least not right now.
Yeah, you know, are we looking at, in the future again, because this isn't like, immediate, but are we looking at a future lawsuit because we're preventing a farmer to do with their land what they want to do with their own property? So that's another question.
Yeah, I don't think
Correct.
we'd be sued on that.
Mm-hmm,
Developer might choose another community instead of ours if it's easier to develop in a Finbury Grove or Huntley,
mm-hmm,
or not Huntley, more
So-
Hampshire.
yeah,
So, yeah, there's definitely development pressure that I
Sure.
foresee coming.
oh,
I think that
definitely.
the
Go
for
ahead,
sale
Janet,
signs.
yeah.
So one of my concerns is obviously trying to preserve what we have. But I feel that trying to preserve what we have requires, requires that we be a little more nimble than we have been perhaps in the past, and understand that, as, as Mr. Brown pointed out, we don't control most of the Route 47 corridor.
That's
And yet
correct.
it's very important to us that however it's developed is in the least objectionable way. And so one of the things that I'm mindful of is that I would like to erect really high barriers and lots of challenges and everything to anybody who wants to build anything on Route 47. But if we do that, then none of those landowners will throw in with us, right? And so if we want anybody along 47 or the properties leading up to it to work with us, then we have to be willing and able to establish some type of middle ground where we can meet them. Because if we just say no, we don't want any of it, and we can say that with, honestly, right? But if we do that, then it's just going to increase the pressure to make sure that it's Elgin, coming down Route 47, or it's Lily Lake coming up from the south, or it's any other community than us that cares less about how this corridor gets developed. The other thing that I've been mindful of is that it's highly likely that this Route 47 corridor will not turn into another Randall Road. I think the county is not interested in that. Virtually none of the communities along the route are interested in it. But we have a different, actually rather worse example, which is Kirk Road. So would you rather have that? And that's what you're more likely to see, actually, than Randall Road.
Which road did you say?
Kirk Road.
Kirk, okay, Kirk Road.
Would you like to see warehouse row instead of retail row?
Yeah, they're both just as bad. in my
I
opinion.
don't, I think that,
Yeah, I know.
yeah, well, exactly, but but it's rather more likely, I think, that you're gonna see the tilt-up construction, and that's what I would like to try and find a way to, it's rather like what we're doing in La Fox, find a way to say, no, we don't want it, but how can,
Conservation, rather than farmland. And at least one of the commissioners didn't like that idea. They always felt that targeting an area for, the town center or commercial or something else was, to use their expression, putting a target on the back. That once we acknowledge it, that this is supposed to be, we've visioned this for neighborhood or residential, then it will be a self-fulfilling prophecy and it will become. I mean, I'm not necessarily sure I buy that. I think it's going to happen regardless of what's on our land use map, but I just wanted to say that. And that was one of the reasons as well why it was retained as farmland on the future land use map.
Yeah, and I think that Trustee Burson brings a good point. Which road do you find least objectionable? Randall or the industrial tip-up construction of Kirchhoff? I mean, I think the chances of warehouses and tip-up construction sites is much higher on 47 than a Randall repeat. Because of the state is making it a bypass to do connectivity to 88, truck traffic, and to, and it goes all the way to 80, that's true as well.
A lot of
And it goes up to
interchanges.
90,
That's
because there's
causes
too much
it.
congestion on 355.
Yeah,
So they need to move the, bypass route of the congestion of Chicagoland further west. And that's, what goes with that? Tip-up construction warehouses.
go ahead, Mike.
This is the Prairie Parkway finally realized in a different,
Yes, that's
different
true.
corridor than
Yeah.
Hastert was thinking about.
Yeah.
I want to reiterate something for the record also, to acknowledging the valid concern. I'm not trying to dismiss the concern of some folks about putting targets on things. I've never seen a comprehensive plan in any town I've worked 100% dictate what happens. In fact, generally, it's the opposite. The developers seem to always want to come in and change the comp plan. They'll ask for something that wasn't the ideas of the folks that developed the comp plan 10, 15, 20 years ago, whatever it was, and have to explain why to the body, first the zoning and then, or zoning plan board depending on, or council depending on it. So I'm not as concerned if we want to acknowledge that, again, we want senior housing. I'll keep going back to that. We want something that could support a supportive living facility and all that entails, which would be a higher density for water, higher density for, which could be a well. I mean, it's not impossible to have something, a facility on a well, but the fire protection becomes an issue. And then a way to handle sewage, which could be a biodigester or something, doesn't necessarily have to be connected to a system per se. So I wouldn't be concerned about saying this, if such a thing were to happen, this is the area we want it to happen. It at least pushes it from areas we don't want it to happen.
And Jim, that would also help us with our affordable housing plan redo if we had senior
Yeah,
housing.
I don't know if I mentioned at the last meeting, that's the
You
easy way
did,
to,
yeah.
to fulfill your senior housing threshold.
All right, Nick was next, and then Frank.
So one, I kind of prepared one way for this workshop, and I wasn't sure how we were going to officially go around and make
Discussion,
suggestions.
Suggestions.
So whatever that format is, because I kind of made a couple pages I wanted to go through, but to stay on this topic, I picked up, and Trustee Burson, I appreciate when you did bring up the Northwest Corridor originally, because it did, and the conversation and all the points you had brought up previously, Trustee Millette, with how industrial can be on a well and septic, and how it is a minimal usage of water, some of those concepts. And I looked at it more as the comp plan needs to provide a better framework, similar to what it does for our residential neighborhoods with the conservation-style neighborhood for industrial and commercial, wherever it ends up. And again, I'm not sure what our format's gonna be tonight, so I don't wanna hog the microphone. But like, just simply on that, on page 121 of the comp plan, there is an industrial, commercial, institutional paragraph that I'm not looking at right now, but my notes reference it. I'm gonna send an email. I created some edits to that to include in that more of the concepts of that conservation neighborhood, to talk more about the industrial. For instance, these developments are encouraged to dedicate 33 to 50% or more of potentially buildable land to permanently protected open space. Talking about incorporating managed aquifer recharge, which is something that, Trustee Millette, I heard you talking about, and I kind of went off and did a bunch of research on that, and that is definitely something that we should have in here as a goal for our industrial and commercial, because whatever does happen out there, I still look at preserving open space. The product of that is going to be some development, whatever it ends up being. There's going to be some, and we just have to figure out how we're going to squeeze open space and conservation out of it. And these are really just goals, right? I mean, we're putting in here future goals, a framework. It's not written in stone, but I think that we can set the bar pretty high in here, and I don't see any reason why we can't ask industrial or commercial, you know, to push for a third to a half open space. So, you know, in addition, on page 54, the community character theme, goal A1, here's another one that I wanted. This is a simple thing that I was hoping could be strengthened. On page 54, community character theme, the last sentence, I would propose that we change that to the development must preserve the quiet, peaceful, and secluded character of designated residential areas. It was real soft language in there, and I didn't really understand why it was written kind of as timid as it was. So those are a couple suggestions, and then I'll let it circle back around before I touch on any more.
I think I'm on a different version, maybe. I pulled up the version that was on the agenda.
I think, no, I mean, you're tracking with mine, but maybe, yeah, maybe that's just coincidence.
Maybe the uploaded version comes up different. I don't know. So I'll just, if he's got a copy, I'll just look at it on.
Yeah.
He might have another copy, I know.
Yeah, right. Sorry, I called them.
Frank, do you want to go ahead, or you want to wait? Yeah?
No,
So-
so one of my concerns was just the amount of farms that eventually could be sold, like you were mentioning. And, you know, I guess my question is, should we take a more proactive approach to say, hey, these are the types of industries, and maybe focus on green-type industries that we'd like to consider, and maybe even start making some partnerships with those industries to say that, hey, eventually, if this space becomes available, or if these farms become available, we can be the intermediary
Good idea.
to bring the types of industries, or it could be conservation, it could be open space, it could be all sorts of different things. But is that something that maybe we should be more proactive with in the vision to say, you know, maybe these are 10 green-type industries that we feel can come to the area and blend in and give us the type of environment that we're all looking for. So instead of just waiting back for something to happen, we go out, be proactive, and really look into some industries that would make sense and say, hey, here's what we're looking at. We don't know the timing of it, but when it does become available, we can help set up a relationship, so.
Okay. Go ahead, Janet.
It's interesting because it dovetails a little bit with something that I touched on with Administrator Rooney earlier today. The county has changed their zoning recently so that farms cannot be purchased by landscapers, concrete contractors, et cetera, and used as, you know, yes, construction yards instead of farms. And the village doesn't have such an ordinance, and we had talked about whether the village should kind of true up with the county or not. And it's a conversation for us yet to have. But what Trustee Benetti's comment makes me wonder is, you know, the things that you think you don't want in your town, whatever they are, is the answer to try and say, no, we don't want them, or is the answer to try and find a place, right? And so would we have a would we have a different opinion about an agricultural property that was purchased by a landscaper who's going to use it as, in effect, we characterize a construction yard on Route 47 versus Spolcom, right? I mean, I feel like we would. And so, if our notion would be to generally say, we'd like to track with the county and keep ag properties agricultural, is there room for us to recognize that different areas are different and that this Route 47 corridor and perhaps other areas that are similarly high traffic, we might have a different policy. And we might say, hey, you're otherwise somewhat, unattractive business to us. That same business, if it was on Kendall or if it was on Dittman, we might not like it so much. But that business on Route 47, we might like it fine. And so what Trustee Benetti referred to is sort of green businesses. Green could mean, energy related or something, but when I think of green, I think of growing things, right? And so, I wonder whether there's room for us to embrace uses that would be commercially viable, but we would feel are in keeping with our community, and a landscaper, for example, a large landscaper that needed a significant yard, and they wanted to put it off Route 47 instead of off Beef, right? I think, right, I think we would be inclined to embrace that.
Okay. Well, go ahead, Ken. And
No,
I'd like to
I would
say-
agree with that, and if you
Yeah.
look at the Route 47 corridor now, we already have that heading north, and I believe there's some down south. So, that would be the place for it, I would think, maybe even Olson Airport. I mean, it's already got a nice big field. But, yeah, I would,
Okay, I did some research, and I looked at different communities of things that were more environmental friendly, that they had done conservation more friendly. And so I thought some of these ideas were good because a term we used to use at the county is, Kane County didn't want to be anywhere USA, which you can look at Cook County, which looks like DuPage County, which looks like Will County, Grundy County. It's not, Yorkville looks just, just kind of blew up with heavy development, cookie cutter development. And I love Yorkville, but, so one of these, well, not the way it is now, not the way it is now. Actually, one of these I thought of when I looked at it, I immediately in my mind, it brought me to the development, the residential development right on 47 in Elburn on the east side. And it's heavy cookie cutter development with really no open space, very close to the road. So, so a couple ideas were must have preservation of significant woodlands and wetlands. We have to make sure we protect all our recharge areas and our wetlands. Buffer zones between the busy road and residential areas for better views and less noise impact for the people buying those homes, which again brought me to think about the development on 47 in Elburn. Create wildlife overpass or underpass was just an idea. I thought it was an interesting idea since a friend of mine works at Jewel and hit a deer the other morning. She goes in early in the morning and it smashed her car. Yeah, so that was, she's fine. No, she had her seatbelt on. She was fine. Placement of native vegetation along the road, leave undeveloped wedges of land for parks or for visual relief or community gardens, such as what's at the corner of, it's at the northwest corner of Peck and 38. They have that, there's a group, I forget what the group that gardens, It's a Kane County, yeah, it's a Kane County group. But I thought, and again, going back to that development, it's just solid homes. There's no breaks in the homes for a little bit of open space and breathing room. And then just create open space between large developments. And I thought these ideas were actually pretty good ideas. And I'll pass this to James so we can talk about that.
And I think that's more on what Nick said too, though,
Yes.
the conservation of 50 or a third being some recharge or open.
Yeah, we need to keep those recharge areas, especially because our community is, the majority of us are on private wells, which is very important. So, anyway, Kim, you were done. Nick, you go ahead.
Yes, so I wanted to follow up on both of those comments, Trustee Burson and President Warnicki. I feel like scale is kind of the difference between what I was talking about and maybe what you guys were talking about, and so I'd just like some clarification. Because the construction yards and the landscape nurseries or whatever may be great out on 47 feels like a smaller enterprise. And what we're really talking about is like vast hundreds of acres of land. So I couldn't see a construction yard coming in, picking up 100 acres and putting a, a contractor's facility in over there. So where you were talking about a little bit more like the micro level on 47, is that right? I just want to clarify, because what I was talking to, and maybe both things can be integrated, I don't think they conflict, is what I guess what I'm getting at is that if we were able to apply this conservation neighborhood theme at some sort of a ratio between permeable and non-permeable space with the water, the aquifer recharge concepts. And I think that that would complement what you guys were just mentioning, which was a little bit more on the micro level, right? Like specific landscaping and what might happen to the 5 or 10 acre farmette that exists that could be an appropriate place for like a contractor or nursery.
Yeah.
And one of the things I think you should fear the most, because it is that connectivity to the 80, 88, 90,
Interchanges.
is what you see that we have to take legal action behind the Wasco water tower. That 10 to 12 trucks and trailer is turning into 50. Somebody would love to get a larger parcel, be it 80 or 100 acres, and build what every community will not let you build, except East Dundee did it with a Ploty property. They must have 100+ trailers and tractor stored there every day and night, but they have more than 100. Yeah, it's more. So that's your biggest fear of something that's gonna happen out there. And it'd be one thing if you were like East Dundee and collected a fee for each truck and trailer each day and night.
Yeah,
But
that'd be great.
you don't have sales
Wish.
tax. So,
Wish, yeah.
I mean, those are the type of facility, what is that off of, in East Dundee? What road is that, Beverly?
Beverly, yeah, it's up
25th and Beverly, a little bit
20
south.
25, just a little further down Beverly.
Yeah, I mean, if you take a look at that, that is something that, on scale, somebody could get 120 acres, 140 acres and build a massive version of that. And the county might let them do it, especially if they did the necessary stormwater and did a unique injection system of the runoff. Or they do in East Dundee and just do it all on rock.
Well, they have a lot of detention space there. May I respond? President Warnicki?
Let me just say one word. You'd be amazed how the developers know the feelings of certain municipalities and certain townships. And one good thing is we're earning the reputation for conservation development by what we just did south of 38. That's huge. So, that kind of sets the stage for us, and I think it's a wonderful, great thing. Go ahead, Janet.
Well, it's a great thing with the public I agree, but sadly, I think it's probably not such a great thing for developers. And what it actually does is it tells most developers that compared to what they would like to have, that it's going to be an uphill battle with us.
But that's a
So-
good thing.
Well, but it
Yeah.
is and it isn't, because it is a good thing to hold the line.
That's right.
It is a good thing to hold the line within your boundaries. This is a different issue. We're trying to figure out how to manage our planning area. And if within our planning area, outside of our boundaries, if our stance is too strong, then it's going to make it harder to annex people. And so we have to find a balance that allows us to say, to have enough yes for some people to say that they want to work with us, and enough no that what ultimately gets built is tolerable to us. And so, one of the things that we could explore, which is not typically done, is to take a parcel like Olson Airport, for example, which has already been sold. And as I understand it, the new owner has already moved to close the airport. And has an interest in trying to, possibly wait until there is sufficient development along 47 to profit from that purchase. Well, the type of development that faces 47 may not be the same development that faces Kendall. And as President Winnicki pointed out about the residential development that's on the northeast corner of Elburn right now, unattractive in every way. I mean,
Yeah.
there's nothing good you can say about it,
I agree.
including the fact that they raised everybody's property
Oh,
taxes.
the name they gave it maybe was okay. Was it Fox Point or something? Yeah,
Okay, whatever. Terrible
to
development.
make it, yeah.
Terrible in every possible way.
Yeah.
So what would be better, I think, is if you were to take a property like Olson Airport, might not be that one, but one like that spans 47 to Kendall. Perhaps there's a way that you can work with a landowner and say, well, we absolutely understand that you're going to want something commercial on 47, and we can find a way to work with you on that. But the Kendall side of it is different. The Kendall side of it is where the residential should be. And overall on that, however many acres Olson Airport is, I'm going to guess 50 or so. Bigger, is it 100?
Is it bigger than that?
Yeah. So, how,
It's not just the airstrip, it's.
the fields on either side of it. So a parcel like that, you can say, we understand what your desire is to clean up, on the commercial side of that property. But we would prefer to see residential development that's manageable for us on the Kendall side, and we'd like to see as much conservation as possible in between, because the people on the residential side are going to want to feel as insulated from 47 as they can.
It would be ideal to historically preserve part of that Olson Airport, not the runways or anything, but that might be something that we should look at.
If you could get the owner to embrace any notion of historical preservation, that'd be great.
Yeah, I know it's been there for, do you remember when Olson Airport? No? Yeah, it'd be great to, like I say, historically preserve that airport.
Well, and as I,
Portion, anyway.
yeah,
It'd be hard to get the developer to do that, though, at this stage.
Wait, is he a developer and investor? He's an owner.
He's an investor.
He's an
so
investor.
investor and developer may or may not be the same, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
Well, I think that you gotta look at it too, those old hangars on there are nothing that fit for historic preservation.
Well, yeah, it's more the land, the land and what it was used for, back in the day. So if the hangars don't,
You'd have to have the landowner agree to the
Correct.
designation, and that's, you
Correct.
can't just designate it, you have to
no,
get them to.
I get that, yeah.
no, but for example, you could repurpose the runway and make that an artery in a future development, right? And so you could make a nod to the prior usage of that, of that land as runway previously, even though it's now been repurposed as a road. So is the developer going to want to memorialize something and not build on it? Probably not. But are they going to allow you, or will they even possibly actively work with you on some way to create some additional cachet to the area that it didn't already have?
AKA Glenview didn't preserve any of the runways of the Naval Air Station, but they preserved a section of the naval base
There
that
you
was
go.
the hangar area and the main tower. So you can get a feel for that.
Well, it's right in the middle of the retail development,
It
right?
is. And
You know,
there's
yeah,
if you're thinking of that type of preservation, you can achieve that, because
that's what I'm talking
fits a
about.
theme. But I think you have to be realistic. I think Janet's on it, because there's a yin and yang. You want to control with your zoning and your vision, but if you make it too restrictive, they'll just bounce to Pingree Grove, who will let them do anything they want.
Well, I'm going to put it on my list of things to do. We can meet with the new owner of Olson Airport, kind of run that by him and just see what he thinks.
And what the Grecos plan on doing, I think.
But this
They
isn't
love this
Greco.
stuff. No,
Yeah,
right.
yeah. So, yeah, Nick, I know you've been waiting.
Yeah, so out in that area, I guess I'm just curious, so we have a conservation neighborhood, like in a residential, if a residential developer came in. So we've got 35% minimum we're asking them to set aside for the land. So that's an expense on the developer. Additionally, how realistic is it for another spray field facility to manage sewer and wastewater? And if not, then we're talking about 1 acre estate-sized lots on well and septic. So depending on what the answer is to that, that puts us up against somebody who does offer sewer and water, and it kind of feels like we're not a very great contender for someone to annex into our village with those things. And that is why I felt like we need to put more in here referencing industrial, commercial, and these type of developments out there, because with a warehouse, with the truck lot, with any of those things, it's like very realistic for us. I mean, we're talking about a warehouse with a septic system.
Mike can answer, there's an engineering way to do that.
Okay, yeah, and
Without being Pingree Grove or Elburn with a water treatment.
sure, so I'd love to hear that.
I mean, it depends on the waste load too. I mean, I've used it before. We have a restaurant that's on a septic field, a heavily used restaurant, but they've got a biodigester, so they pre-digest a bunch of their waste and it gets pumped out regularly, so it can still function. So that's an option that's on the single site. You can have a co-op, you can have a cesspool. I mean, depending on what the again, the biologic loading of it, if it's strictly people and food, that's fine. But if you get any kind of manufacturing related or any kind of, commercial that is starting to use solvents or something, then that becomes a problem for that, on any kind of land application or in pit type of situation. So, the other thing we need to talk or consider in all of this is Burlington's close, they've got water. Pingree's water is farther away. And Hampshire's water is farther away, and Elburn's not even a player if we're talking about the area, so, It's-
Elgin's
Elgin's-
pipes are a little aged.
well, they didn't size them, they sized them for Stony Creek and not much further also.
Right.
But there's that initial expense to get the main brought out that far. So the first developer
Due to open space.
is gonna,
plan.
well, and
Yeah,
you're gonna lose pressure, you get friction in the pipe, right? So you head loss to start with. You're going uphill depending on where you're coming from, so the potable water can be a controlling issue, is a controlling issue. where if, if somebody wants a, whatever, if somebody wants some weird manufacturing facility that's close enough to 90 that somebody's gonna pay $50 million to run water out of Hampshire, we can't compete against that.
Right, right.
We never will. But to your point, if we can look at areas where we can tell somebody, hey, you know, Pingree never gonna get water out here either, so shut that down right now. Let's talk about what we can help you with that serves our needs and our future residents' needs, which is groundwater recharge on your gray water, or, you know, something that would be a little bit not ordinary now that might be appealing to somebody,
And cost effective for that.
and cost effective for the development, right?
Yeah, the warehouses, they create too much impervious surface. And like I said before, you know, the majority of us are on private wells, and it's very important. Water's a big issue. But Nick, you were done, Frank, Kim? Anybody else? Therese? Go. What's the new topic? Well, let's finish this first. Yeah. James is like, go
Go,
for
I'm
it.
got my pen ready.
So anything else, or do you want to submit your notes? You want to write up notes and give them to James, maybe?
And
So
share them with everybody.
yeah,
One quick comment.
sure.
I did want to point out, and I talked to Mark about this earlier, I thought it was really great that Janet mentioned, though, that when we do get into the Pine Grove area, we don't have like a open space partner like we do have in Campton Hills, so that does, you know, cause some issues. I don't know if we would want to try to reach out. I don't know what kind of success we would have.
With the Plato Township
Yeah,
area
it sounds like
politically.
probably not. It sounds like we might not have the same, I know that this group that's put the Campton Hills Open Space together has been doing this for a long, long time, and it's been a huge community effort, but,
Plato's-
Pingree wants to grow, and they've
yeah.
grown a lot.
So I think they probably wouldn't be very
Yes.
receptive, so.
Well,
for you to
Overrun
make a-
by, like,
So
There's no
there's no
signage.
contiguity
But I'm
from,
sorry, go ahead, yeah.
I mean, there's no contiguity from Lily Lake into Plato Township at all in any way, so that's not possible.
Yeah,
But my question
yeah, it's
for
kinda
President
odd.
Winnicki, if you know, and perhaps we can, you know, ask further, is the Campton Township Open Space Foundation strictly speaking limited to Campton Township? Are they, can they only work within Campton Township? Is there
Like,
any?
yes, yeah. In fact, there was a parcel on McDonald Road that I thought maybe they'd be interested in.
But it's on the north side.
Exactly. And I did ask that, and that would be in
It's Plato.
Plato
then, yeah.
Township. Yeah, yeah.
And so and
But I talked to the Forest Preserve about that, too, so, yeah.
so I'm just curious as to whether there's some way that if either Campton Township Open Space can expand its mandate, or can they, I don't know, could they,
You have to look at the statute.
could they have could they have another township partner or something? Would it be possible for them to work with Plato and help them?
Well, they could help Plato create an open
Yeah.
space.
You know,
Plato
you know,
Township Open
could there be an
Space.
IGA or something that they could work with them? Obviously, Plato's gonna have to be responsible for finding their own money, right?
But I
But-
think they could give them a hand on how to go forward with it. It's a big job, and they probably need, you do need an attorney. I don't think it has to be an expensive attorney, but just to guide them. Like, you know, Kathleen is the one that guided us.
So
Yeah, they
I mean,
could
would
do
it be a
it.
reasonable action item for us to reach out to Campton Township Open Space and see whether there's a possibility of developing a relationship, at least with Plato Township, to facilitate open space development within Plato? If it's not possible for Campton Township to do it, can they help in some way?
The current leadership there is a retired fireman from the city of Chicago, and he'd like to pull up the drawbridge and stop Elgin. He just doesn't know how to go about it. So he's looking for a partner. No, Plato. Plato Township, the version of John Kupar in Plato Township.
I think that we could attend a township meeting and maybe suggest that they do something like that, so we can create even a bigger open space community. I think that would be the way to do
Yeah,
it.
because the boundaries are rather arbitrary, and the trees and the birds and everything don't know where they are.
And I think Joe Garbarski, he's so pro open space, I think he'd be glad to help. So, yeah, we can make that connection. It's a good idea. It is. Yeah.
I thought that was a great thing that Janet brought up, and because it was something I hadn't thought of, and so I think it's something really worth pursuing then. I didn't know if it was something that Plato Township would be interested in or not, but why not check? right?
Well, we could, Jim Brown, we could write a strategy
Yeah, I got the note.
for the planning area to partner with Plato specifically, and with those themes, and Jim can write that up. He's tracking on what you're saying. He'll give you a version of that next time.
About every 3 months, we have an alliance now, and I'm part of the alliance. It's Plato Township, it's Lily Lake, it's Drew Frost does come with the Brundage annexation, it's Jeff, the mayor of Elburn. There's a whole big group of us, and I can take the first step. In fact, we're meeting, I think, in a couple weeks, so I will bring that up to them.
And sometimes the Plato Township supervisor shows up.
Yeah, I'm hoping he does, yeah. So far, he has. So, yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah.
Jim, you've got a strategy and a goal. You can write that up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So Barbara, that kind of falls into one of the other recommendations from Janet, because she had mentioned about, other, and one of your first points was the boundary agreements. So I would imagine that's what was that kind of how your group got together, was to kind of talk about those things?
We
A little bit,
actually,
maybe.
because we're a mixture of township and municipalities, and just the fact that Drew was on the county board with me, and they're interested in annexing Brundage Road, and so he's real involved. And plus, he lives in Blackberry Township, so he knows a lot about the community. So those are things we talk about. That was just something, actually, Joe brought that together. He said, I'd like to form this alliance.
Nice.
And we just talk about everything and anything. We come out with all new ideas. It's actually a really good group.
That's great.
But I guess you're talking about going back to what we had 12 months ago to try to get boundary agreements with our planning area to the north, which would be, as Mike said, the folks at Hampshire, Pingree Grove, and the Plato Township.
And Burlington. No, we
And
did Burlington.
We did Burlington.
Oh, and we have Lily Lake. I know we're,
Yeah, and we tried with Elburn, but they wanted more than what we wanted to give up, and, yeah, so, yeah.
position might be different now.
We just threw.
I have two questions.
No, we've been trying to work with them, but go ahead, I'm sorry.
One question is, I think there's a different version of this northern frontier problem on the northeast version
I
of the,
heard that
of
from
the village.
somebody.
And
Yeah.
I was reminded because trustee Millette was looking at this area on the map. And so in the area right around Muirhead,
Okay.
Muirhead and Plato Road is, so if you were to take Coron Road and if it were to go straight north, we would be approximately at Muirhead and Plato,
Sure.
right?
Sure.
And so that's not an unreasonable northeast kind of tent stake for the
That
village.
Muirhead, there's an enormous Kane County Forest Preserve.
I'm
They
aware.
just expanded it.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
that's one of the things we were
Yeah.
looking at. And so, when it,
That's right,
so
Bulls Creek
as
too.
I had mentioned in the recommendations that I'd submitted, it's not just along Route 47, but kind of all along the Plato Road, and in particular, as we get to the northeast, it's kind of another frontier area for us, right? Village frontier, because
Yeah, I agree.
because it's us, or it's Elgin, or it's the county there, right? And so, is it, I don't care who's, like, what, like, I don't care where your property lives, whether it lives in Elgin or Campton Hills or unincorporated. But what is interesting to me is whether the county has an interest in trying to expand its own open space presence there, which is currently represented by the Muirhead Forest Reserve. And is there other opportunity to preserve more space, either contiguous to that or in that general vicinity? Not our effort, not
Yeah.
Campton Township open space, but does the county have an interest? The Forest Reserve.
Yeah, I don't think they were looking at expanding Muirhead because it's a very large forest preserve. They did create wetland mitigation there because it's rather wet in that
Well,
area.
it is now.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Well, yeah. But,
Field tiles removed.
yeah, we'll have to pull up the forest preserve map and see if we can somehow connect up, maybe with something and make it larger. I like your idea about like Plato Township trying to move forward with an open space plan, township open space plan,
Well,
if they're willing to.
The other thing that I wondered is if Campton Township Open Space is not able to acquire land and so forth in the way that they have
They
outside
can't,
of the
yeah.
township, are they able to expand as a park district outside of the township?
I think they have to stay within their boundaries. I don't think they can do that. No.
Okay.
The statute for township open space is a very strict statute. It is. And, yeah, I don't believe they can do that.
Park districts and fire districts can straddle, but township government is more restricted.
Yeah, yeah.
And so Township Open Space also wants to be a park district, but because they're an organ of the township, they're restricted in that way?
Just be Campton Township.
It'd be within their boundaries, the park district,
Okay, thank you.
yeah.
But district, different game. They can be straddle and go across.
It's okay. So again, I'm just going through my notes for tonight, and on page 88, the goals for commercial and mixed-use centers theme, I thought goal E1 was beautiful, focusing on economic development, filling the spaces that we currently have. When we got to goal E3, that's where I didn't like the wording. I really didn't like the goal. Considering denser mixed-use development at 2 key locations within the planning area. I just feel like this is the one area in this whole document where it is referencing us doing any denser development. And I think goal E3, in my opinion, could be removed completely. I think that we could re-reference here again.
On page 92?
I'm on page 88 and 89.
I think
So-
he's on the E3, instead of denser.
Yeah, so Campton Square
okay.
picture, the title for this section is Goals for the Commercial and Mixed-Use Centers theme.
Okay, and you're at goal E3.
Yeah, I thought everything looked very nice except for goal E3. I would replace this, if we were to replace it with anything, again with, I have some
More
language
denser
written, but again, referencing the focus on open space versus considering denser mixed-use development or eliminating it altogether. The second thing that I wanted to point out was, being that these are goals and things that we would want to strive for, the nature of what is a goal. Goal E5, establishing a community square or gathering place. I don't know that that is a goal that I've ever felt was a goal for the village of
I
Campton
think the
Hills.
last time you discussed it, you basically came to the conclusion you were gonna remove that town center idea. That was the consensus. Because it was 50-50 with the commission, the planning and zoning, and I thought you all decided you didn't really want to create a town center anywhere.
I think Nick just did that by saying get rid of E3, because that's
Yeah.
related specifically
Yeah.
to the town center. So.
And if there were to be a town center, I think the focus needs to be not on a denser town center, but something that reflects the rest of the character of Campton Hills. And in this, it also talks about focusing on filling up the spaces that we already have, which I think is really, that is a goal. Having a increased denser mixed-use development, I don't think is a goal. Having a community square gathering place, I don't know that it's ever come up that we need that's a goal, that we need to strive for a public gathering place.
One thing we should consider, though, is, and going back to the very beginning of our meeting when we talked about farmland, Lenkitis has owned that farmland, and they currently plant corn for their cows right now, their cattle. But what happens if they want to sell that farmland? Who do they sell it to? So what do we want to see there if they do sell it to somebody? You know, do
Well,
we?
in 2012, it was the town center, but I think there was a consensus not to do the
Yeah,
town center.
the public didn't want a town center there. That was too commercial for them, way in the day, way back when it was first proposed. Yeah, yeah.
I think that
And then-
unfortunately,
Uh-huh.
the town center notion has been thoroughly and completely corrupted by people who are insistent that you can't do anything without the cooperation of Wasco Sanitary District, which is completely and totally ridiculous. So I think it's high time that we completely divorce our notions of what we do or don't want at the town center from the availability of water and sewer, because they are not connected. They are not related. As Trustee Millette has pointed out on multiple times in multiple scenarios, there are many different ways in which sewage can be remediated, and water is generally available. So if we want something at that property, whatever it is, whether it's a park, whether it's a retail development, whether it's a senior center, whether it's a mixed-use development, whatever it is, we can have whatever it is that we want there. And so for all of the Mike Terrells in the world who have been telling us for 20 years that you can't, they're wrong. Mike Terrell was wrong. Everyone else who said that you can't build on that property because you don't have capacity at Wasco Sanitary is wrong, and you can have whatever you want to have on that property. The question is, what do you want to have, right? And so for me, I wouldn't build any kind of mixed-use retail or anything like that. The universe is telling us that people don't particularly want retail. Retail is struggling everywhere.
Yeah,
So I don't know why
that's
we would build any
Right.
retail there. You know, I mean, for me, I would like to see that as possibly the focus of a future senior development or something like that. Seems like it would sort of fit the property nestled right in the middle of the downtown area.
So I've always felt that, if I can comment here, I thought about that, thank you for saying that. It's always been kind of like the tail wagging the dog, that situation with the Wasco Sanitary District.
Yeah,
and-
so
and
a
us.
senior center wouldn't really work unless you have some kind of.
But it would,
sewer
so
and
that's the,
water.
but again, that's the
Or
point,
well
is that you're
accepted.
not,
You
you're
could
not
do-
limited. There's
Yeah.
this idea that somehow you can't build whatever, it's a senior center or retail or whatever. This Mike Terrell-based idea, he's been the leader of this for a long, long time.
I know.
That you can't do it unless you have a connection to Wasco Sanitary is just objectively, factually wrong. And I think we need to drive a stake through that notion and then decide if we actually want anything there. But to pretend that we can't do whatever we want there because of water and sewer has always been ridiculous.
Yeah,
Well,
the market is there for a senior kind of complex living because people age out of their big houses and need a place to stay in the community, and they don't have one out here.
If Campton Open Space has any leftover funds from their referendum, they may even try to purchase it, that would be up to them, but,
That would be awesome.
yeah, yeah. And
I
then,
mean, the best thing is if we could always just look across it.
yeah, there you go, yeah. I'm going to do Treese and then Mike, okay? Go ahead, Treese.
So I was actually on that committee when the discussions were had about this. And that was like one part of it, of the argument, but it wasn't the only argument. The other argument was that this was a concept that was brought up, back 2007.
Yes.
And,
Yeah,
or-
it was.
Yeah, and I think if you kind of look around the room and ask, do any of us still think that there's an idea that we want to have a town center there? Does anyone still want that, or is that still a goal? That was more the argument that I remember hearing during the meetings, was that we just all have said it isn't a concept that's kind of current anymore, something that we're striving for. And if you read the language of this, they still are making it sound like and I know that you did everything you could to change the language, but by the time I was off the committee and had joined this group, the language still, in my opinion, still made it sound too much like it was a done deal, that this was a goal, that we were having to have this village center. And it's mentioned numerous times in here, so it's not even just in that one area, it's mentioned all over the place. And the only, I think, language that we added that made it sound like it was not mandatory said, well, this is just one representation of what could happen to the land, but it is mentioned so many times that I think it's hard to say that it's not something that makes it look like it was something that we are expecting to do. And so
Yeah.
I think currently, it's not something we're all anticipating doing, and so I think it should just be eliminated at this point.
Just,
What Nick said.
I support that, and I had that written on mine too. Let's remove it, but there's several other places that would need to be removed as well. So I've got them all
Yeah,
kind of
all right.
listed.
Just keep in mind that when Patsy and her team put the comp plan together way back in '07.
It was-
2012, the latest, but what was the firm that she hired that?
Well, there was
Tesca.
Tesca did the town center
But it
plan. That
wasn't-
was like 2010, 2011.
But
Yeah.
it was the one that was advising her what to do, like NIPSI or something, or
It was CMAP.
CMAP.
CMAP. So that was a result of CMAP. I remember that specifically.
And probably
in-
in 2007, before the big kind of housing crush and everything, when it looked like
Yes.
everything was booming, we may have thought that was a great idea to have this development and have this kind of cool
Right.
town center. But obviously, things changed, and everything looks very different, and
And,
So-
yeah, and I think CMAP is pretty used to
It's-
working with larger
and I don't-
municipalities.
They were, and so was
right?
Tesca.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the questions I had too is, I'm not sure how our vacancy rates are right now with our current commercial. Are we pretty full? But probably not. I think that we probably would want to focus on our current commercial, and then, if there's any further commercial development, even the mention of the La Fox area, I think that's a great area for potential future commercial at some point, because you've got the train station there, just not yet. I think even the train station, the Elburn train station, originally had planned on having some commercial development there, but they have since kiboshed their plans because there just isn't the train station itself has not had the capacity that they were hoping, so there's just not the population going through the train station. But down the road, that would be, I think, a great location. So not something that you would say no to, I think, but just for right now, I wouldn't put so many references, and I would take them out for now.
Mike, I'm sorry, go ahead.
That's fine. This sort of proves the little carrot or chicken and egg that we were talking about earlier, because that's been part of our comp plan since 2010, and it's not been built, right? It was exactly that statement that mixed use was a thing that was happening everywhere. We saw them popping up, Mill Creek had just popped up. We saw other suburban entities looking for that, for walkability, for sustainability and less car trips and those sorts of things. It was encouraged, so it wasn't without thought and relevant. And at the time, it wasn't fully known the capacity of Wasco's, or the lack of capacity for Wasco was suspected, but it wasn't confirmed. So they can supply the drinking water, that's not the issue. It's, as mentioned before, it's the waste side of it, and if it's, again, if it's a senior facility that's just human biological, that's a lot easier to deal with in a digester or in some
Yeah.
limited fashion that still may have a connection to Wasco, but is sending it a less potent waste stream, because it's treated some of that. So I would, to the, Nick, to your point about the language, sorry, I'm gonna postnasal drip like lots of people do these days. We don't have to take out denser mixed-use development in the hamlet of LaFox, I don't think, because, yeah, to what you just said, Teresa, it may never happen, but if we wanted it to be somewhere, that's the place we would want it to be. But I think, yeah, we could town center and say that in a location such as, and target that spot as we've targeted before, because if you were going to be a senior and you still had some mobility, where would you want to go? The McDonald's, the stores that are there, that's the closest we can get to you that's not White Brothers, correct?
When you say senior center, are you talking
Senior
about
housing.
senior housing?
Mixed, yep,
Okay.
just like my mom's in and Michelle's like, you know, that's sort of a spectrum,
I think
a
that's the
spectrum.
way we need to word it.
Greenfields
Senior
is the next
housing
closest
instead of
one.
Senior center, yeah.
Yeah, no, it'd be senior housing, yep.
Senior centers are scary. Nick, you were next.
And that'd help us on our
Yeah.
affordable housing
It would.
plan greatly.
Yeah.
Two birds.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I feel like I'm being redundant, but I really appreciated and liked the way that conversation just went. I agree with everybody.
Good.
And I was just going to follow up, if this is being removed, if there was a way that we could incorporate into here our new and current goal of senior housing. So again, it's a little redundant, Mike, just kind of repeating what you just said, but I'm
All
on
right,
board with that.
That's good. So, yes, so what do you think? You think we're ready to tie this up? Sure, go ahead.
This is just a recommendation. I
I actually read up with community data snapshot on there as well. And that's it.
You're going to include some of our comments?
I'm going to run through these because I want to I like to do this so I understand. And there are some things I'm not 100% sure there's consensus on, so I want to go through. So just start, so I write all these down and they aren't, it's just where I find space on my paper, so they're not in any particular order. But I'll start with maybe the easiest one. That was Nick's comment on the timid language, the must and the should. Yeah, this, I get what you're saying, but this is it's not an ordinance. Normally when you write ordinance, you say must, shall, and when you get to like a planning document, which is not regulatory per se, then you use that kind of pretty please language, and that's very typical of that. I mean, I could still strengthen, I mean, some places in here, we do make stronger language. We say, you know, the village should demand, or, but we never say must, because that's implying that it's a regulation. Correct?
Like the zoning ordinance.
Yeah, like the zoning ordinance will always have must,
Yeah,
shall.
yeah.
I mean, you want to be careful never to use that kind of timid language in the zoning list, but that type of language is fairly common for a plan, because this is our guide. And while I'm on that, I do have a note here. So all the stuff we're talking about, it's not like we're making a decision to do any of this, all right? We're making a decision to put this in the plan, and it's worthy of further exploration, discussion, perhaps and it's a use that really has to go someplace. You know, we want landscapers, we want logistics, and you got to have people to park trailers someplace. And no community wants this, because it invariably ends up looking junky. I did work in Lamont, which is along the I-55 corridor, big, huge warehouse logistics area. And it was a daily battle, you know, trying to, deal with these people. We had approved some with landscape plans, and then to get them to enforce and maintain the landscaping was a battle. We thought that would be good. Hey, let's allow this, let's make it look pretty. there's still part of me that says that would be the most appropriate way to do this, that we attach a lot of performance standards to it, but it was a hassle back then. I mean, I remember driving into work more than once, and that vacant field, when I left last night, it's now got 90 semi-containers in it, overnight. I mean, it was continual. It was continual. So I hope you don't get this, but I do think there is, again, this is just something to explore, and maybe that is a concept that we do want to somehow allow the construction yard, landscape yards at a minor scale with a lot of performance standards. I think it'd be worthy of at least putting in here as we're trying to define what to do with some of these areas. I mean, we have a landscape business here in town that looks pretty good, and I have seen landscaping businesses that do good. A lot of, like, where we worked previously, you know, we had the requirement, and this I think is somewhat typical. Yeah, you can park your trucks there if your business is there. So if you have a bona fide office and you're conducting administrative functions, employee functions, or whatever, that's fine. So if you build a building, you're actually conducting your business there, that's your contractor business, and you can park all the trailers and trucks you want there.
That are your business.
Right, and you know how many people have bitten at that? Zero. I've never had anyone say, okay, I'll go build a building, because that's just not what they're looking for. And they're running their business out of their basement or garage, and they don't want to do that. But I do think, and maybe I can put this in some way as an idea to further explore. The green industry stuff, who said that, Frank? Yeah, that was good. And if you got any ideas for those, email to me, I'll take a look, but I'll try and write something like that in here. Well, the village president's ideas, we talked earlier, I get what you want, so, and maybe you could forward me that too.
I'll just give this.
Yeah,
to-
I think that's
Yeah.
good. And then the conservation neighborhood concept being expanded to industrial and institutional development. Shame on me for not thinking about that. That should have been in there. I mean, that's a good idea, so that should be added. And those paragraphs that you referenced, I mean, it's really just one sentence, and we can expand that. Yeah. And boundary agreement language, gosh, I thought that was in there, and it may have disappeared in one of the edits, but that should be added back in. And certainly the open space program, expanding that, or some type of partnership with Plato Township or any other township is a great idea. As I understand it, this is what I really wanted to ensure I got consensus on, or we have consensus on. Goal E3, that's on page 89, and that was the town center. So all the references to town center you wanted removed, right? Okay. Is that the same as all, and I would not advise you do this, that's not the same as all the references to mixed-use development? Okay, all right. So goal E3, which read, consider denser mixed-use development at 2 key locations within the planning area, that we're deleting, and all other references. Goal E4, I just want to ensure, so it says demand superior design, and, no, I'm sorry, goal E5. Establish a community square or gathering place. So the idea here was just something like a farmer's market. It wasn't like a big square lined with, you know, like you're in Santa Fe where you have the square and all the buildings. It wasn't like that. It was just like, we have no gathering place for like a farmer's market. That's all it was.
We have a farmer's market anyway.
That was just
Yeah.
one of the, do you want,
Yeah.
so if that's, you know, if you want it eliminated, but you want it elaborated, it's just for like a farmer's market, you know, maybe a photo of like a little town square or something, but there wasn't like a big square with, you know, a big plaza lined with all these big buildings. That's not what they were talking about. I don't know, if you want a gazebo. Gotta have a gazebo. Gotta have a few bollards, gazebo, a little retaining wall or something, you know, so.
To me, it read more.
Yeah, and that's what I thought, right,
Not intending
right.
it to mean than what you are intending it to
right.
mean.
Well, I can change the language to clarify what we're meaning. Would that be okay?
And part of the beauty is that the community does pitch in. We use the parking lot for the farmers, you know, the churches,
Yeah.
kind of the.
Yeah. So I don't know, what's the, keep it, delete it, change it?
I don't,
you delete it, it doesn't take away from what you're already doing.
Right.
No,
Did you ever see Batavia have, they have these little buildings and
Adorable, yes.
they're adorable. and
oh,
they're-
yeah.
Yeah, and they're closed in the winter, but in
Right.
the summer, they, yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, but we don't
Yeah.
really have that, and, I mean,
No, but,
because
I think
Because
some
it
senior-
feels like we have a town center, and it's just south of 64, right? It's here and across the street.
All right, then we can remove it, okay.
Senior housing, though.
Senior housing, that was my, actually, next thing, independent living, et cetera. We'll define
good.
that, be kind of heavy on independent living, maybe.
And staying in the, a way to stay in the community.
Right. And then photos of horses. And I think that was
got that.
kind of
Wait, of horses or taken by horses?
taken by horses, I don't know. Yes, Go
Just see a
GoPro
big
camera on
horseshoe
'em.
there.
And that's what I got out of this.
I think Peggy Sue gave
Okay.
us a horse picture.
oh, I'm
No, I had a
sure.
couple too, and she gave us one or two, and I thought, there was one or two in here, and I think they disappeared as I moved things around.
Okay, go ahead, Janet, and then we'll wind it up, yeah.
I just have two things. One is that when we're thinking about senior housing, affordable housing, one of the things we've touched on in many conversations, various of us over time, the senior housing is an obvious one, but it's also basically any single person in the village is going to find it unaffordable. So whether you're recently divorced, whether you're recently widowed, whether you're the child of one of us, I mean,
That's true.
so if it's difficult to find a way to live here for any single person. And so I think the affordable housing issue for people within the community, not necessarily people looking to move here, but for people within the community, is a little broader than senior housing. And so I don't know what the remedy would be, but I think that it might be appropriate to recognize that, anyone can lose a spouse, or, anyone can have an adult child of theirs that wants to live here and is trying to find a way to make it work. The other thing is that I had meant to suggest, and I did not, that we reach out to subdivisions that have previously disconnected from the village. In general, there's been
we're
a significant
never in
population changeover in most of them, right? And so,
Trail,
whatever it was that animated people to disconnect, 18 years ago,
The town center
Yeah.
was one of them.
it may not be the same,
Remember that, Heidi?
right? It may not be the same today, and so,
Yeah, right.
so whether,
Yeah.
whether it's, well, I don't think Prairie Lakes was ever in.
They were.
Were they? So any of these people that have disconnected, I mean-
Prairie and Grandma would probably be two that we could talk to quickly.
because as I understand it, they kind of think they're still in the village and reach out to us
That's
frequently.
true.
so-
They've called us for the police, yeah.
Yeah.
All right,
Okay, and then a final thing on my list. However, see
have
the
a
discussion,
subhead with
yeah,
other
and have some of these other ideas in there, I mean, I don't,
So we
what's
don't
your,
just say farmland forever.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
It's a
Could be
big area.
residential with,
It's not just the corner of Plato and 47. It's
Future land.
It's Plato to Dittman, right? And, or excuse me, 47 to Dittman. Actually, it's the other side of 47 we are now,
The Ram.
right? Well, it's Burlington Road, really, up that way, all the way to Dittman. And it's Plato Road down to McDonald. So it's an area that's substantially larger than the Fox area. And so it's not just that corner, it's all along Plato Road and the area in between. And I feel like, it's big enough and there's enough going on up there that I don't know if we can fit it into this plan, so perhaps having it be an area of further study, but I would hate to see us ignore it for 10 years.
Okay, Teresa.
Let me think about it for this year.
Oh,
All right, Teresa
just
has one more.
as I've been promising you for months now, I have my last set of little bit of typos that
Okay.
I was going to say, I'll just sit with you tonight and I'll circle them on your book. I've got just like
If there's that
10.
few, then you can do it,
It's
yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you.